Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool. And while I always enjoy when CP the Tool Addict takes us through the tool flyers, Snap-on, Matco, Mac, etc., sharing his wisdom, while I'm wildly unqualified to take you through any kind of tool catalog, I do feel that I've got some input that I could share when it comes down to perhaps the Benchmade catalog. Now, Benchmade just sent this out. This is the Benchmade Holiday 2022 catalog. So I'm going to take you through this and share some of my wisdom, my understanding about many of these knives, in case that's helpful to you. So first of all, they're talking about lifetime knives right there, yours for life. I agree. I've had some great lifetime knives. I still have them. I think it's nice to be able to think that I'm going to have this for a long time, or maybe I'll pass this on, and I'll even show you one that has been passed on. They're advertising their Life Sharp. I have used this many times. The Life Sharp means you send your Benchmade knife into Benchmade to the Life Sharp program. They will not only sharpen it, but they will check it, they will oil it, they'll replace any parts that are worn, and in fact, they'll do full warranty service in case something's not quite right. As far as the operation of the knife, for free, and send it back to you, no charge. That's pretty incredible. I mean, not even a shipping charge. So I do appreciate the Life Sharp program. I have used it, and it is a nice feature. It's like being part of the community, the Benchmade community. The next aspect, they're pushing the Made in USA. Benchmade has been made in the USA, the full Benchmade knives since 1987. The Benchmade Butterfly started with their Balisong or their Butterfly knives. That's where the company came from. But otherwise, it's been out of Oregon, and they have been pushing the Benchmade USA brand. So the first one they show is the Bugout, and in fact, there it is. That is the same knife. The Bugout started out as an unusual knife. It was super light, had the world's best name, and was quite controversial. Controversial because it is amazingly thin and flexible. I was expecting something considerably more beefy. In fact, this is what, and I have a video on this, this is what I thought the Bugout should be. This huge Siebert designed Adamus. This thing felt like what I thought a Bugout would be. But in reality, Benchmade had another idea for a ultralight knife, drop point blade. It's still controversial, but I love this knife. This knife spent 30 days straight in my pocket when I went up to Alaska. Since I was behind the wheel driving most of the time, a nice thin profile, high quality knife was exactly what I needed, whereas if I had some big monster thing in there, I'd be moving it around, finally take it out, just simply for comfort. But I can see the Bugout being a great knife. I would have reserved the name for something else, but not my call. The other thing they're pushing is all of these different versions. Now this is interesting because Benchmade in the past used to have a big push towards their Griptilian line, and I have more than these, but I had more than these. I've given a lot of these away, these Griptilians in different colors. But the different blade styles, different blade materials, different blade configurations like serrated or not, and scales. You can even get one scale, one color, and another the other color, whatever those two colors are. So Benchmade now is doing that with the Bugout. So you can see there's quite a few different aspects of the Bugout here, and they even promote it with their custom Bugout. So you can get kind of the city Bugout, I guess. No one will notice if it's hot pink, but boy, if it's military drab green or olive drab, then watch out. So it's kind of neat. They're trying to get a larger population interested in the knives, and it might be through the color. I know that. I've known some women who've worked on fishing boats that got pink knives because they liked the pink, and it was still a full functioning knife. In that case, it turned out to be a Spyderco. And then also they're pushing, how far will you go with your Bugout? You got a moose here, you got a butterfly up there, and pine trees, kind of a scrimshaw look. Sure, if that's your thing, great. I would be worried, are you not going to use it hard because of that? But either way, oh well. They have a gold class ad here. One of the things with the gold class, first of all, I'll own up, I do not own a single gold class knife. I can see actually here that there is a Damascus blade, carbon fiber with blue highlight, look scales, all kinds of stuff. This is the closest I have. This is a Nakamura Benchmade. Beautiful design, full carbon fiber, thick scales right there. Finger grooves. You've got anodization highlights and standouts that are highlighted. Love them. Absolutely love it. But, you're paying more for the experience. I have also not liked, and they're advertising this here. Actually, I'll get to it in a sec, but the Osborne. Let me address this. Here's the Bailout. I felt the Bailout came right after the Bugout, and my feeling was this was actually a response because people started saying, hey, the Benchmade Bugout is this super wimpy knife. We need something bigger, so they came with the Bailout. And they put a kind of a Tonto blade on it, serrations, a much heavier handle. This is quite reminiscent because I've got the Striker. This is my version of this Bailout. It's got a very similar blade. You have to be careful. You can't really sharpen the top edge on a lot of these knives because then it might change the type of knife in a jurisdiction. However, if you notice that, this has already got to be at the far end of any jurisdiction, but I really like this knife. It is a knife with a purpose behind it, and I'm guessing that that's what they're advertising with that Bailout. But I do like the G10 handles. I do like the axis lock and the shape up here, which I'll get to in a bit. So what do we got here? Here's the Osborne, the 940. If you didn't know that, most all Benchmades, I think, have a knife. And if you look at that right here, get that down, the 535, that is the particular Benchmade. And each number designates a specific knife. So many times people are talking about Benchmades. Here's a 940. Here's the 940-1. That must indicate that it's got these carbon fiber scales. So you can see that there are all kinds of versions. I actually am not a fan of this. I mean, it's a great knife. It's super popular. This is the kind of the Osborne 940. But this blade design just does not appeal to me. I've played with these. I mean, if Benchmade wants to send me one and take it for a spin, but I've just this shape doesn't seem to work well into my use of a knife. Just saying. Go into the hunt side. So in the hunt end, we have got the Crooked River. And here's the mini Crooked River. That's the one that they're pushing here. And the Crooked River is actually this knife here. It's a fairly large knife. I got the G10 scale. They also have one kind of with a diamond wood, they call it, scale. But this is basically like a large hunting knife, reminiscent of some of the early bucks, that actually has a folding portion right there. So you've got basically a huge kind of almost a fixed blade knife strength in a folding knife size. I think that's what they're going for. As far as a hunting knife, this is not my favorite. It's a traditional size, a traditional blade configuration, and great handle, good feel, nice lockup. But it does have some issues as far as being a perfect hunting knife. We'll get into that. But they're pushing it, especially with, again, they must have some new laser cutters that are providing these scrimshaw-ish blade experiences, pheasants and ducks and whatever all these others are. But anyway, mallards, pheasants, whitetail, bull elk, I guess I see it down there. So you can get a customized blade if that's your thing. Here's the standard Crooked River family with the full, this is the one I've got, the 15080 right here. I have it in the G10 handles. Great knife, good solid knife. They're not inexpensive, as you can see right here, but it is a big knife. It does have a lot of features, you know, as far as the traditional pocket knife line might have, or might be in comparison, but it's really, I mean, it's a specialty knife. Not your first Benchmade. They've got the Raghorn and the Flyaway. The Raghorn, this is interesting, $420 here. And there's this huge number. I don't know if we can see that there. 156000 or 00 OR. Raghorn. OR is orange. They're pushing that orange thing. Okay, and I'm going to cover both of these. And then here's the Flyaway, super light. As you can see from the shape, they don't even need to show you the actual blade. But it's almost a paring knife, pen knife, small knife. They're pushing it with a scale on here, but ultra light. That's really what it's all about. Lightweight. So here's what I think. First of all, I started out some of my lightweight knives with this one. You know, super thin. You can put a paracord handle on it. This is a fixed blade Adamus D2 steel. You know, for the performance, it's fairly light because they've eliminated a lot of the knife. Heavy jimping everywhere. However, I found that I wanted something a little smaller and orange, a little easier to see. So this is an EC Kangaroo, and I wore this as a neck knife. I still do. It's a Rowan design, very small, but a nice full belly in what works as a gutting, skinny knife. And often you're working up inside a carcass, so it's easy to control this, whereas the bigger knives, you know, you lose control and you puncture things you shouldn't. Okay, well, I thought back about it, and my original best hunting knife back when I was in high school was actually this one. I've kept it. This is the Kershaw. It's not my first hunting knife. That was actually a Schrade Woodsman. But if you look at this, with that Rowan up here, it's actually a very similar design. And that Rowan, that Raghorn, sorry, Rowan was the designer of the Kangaroo from EC. But it actually has a very similar design here. A lot of people don't like to have the forced position of finger cutouts because as you roll it around, as you're working, you know, these become irrelevant. But it does actually fit very nice in the hand, allows you to choke up nicely on the blade for skinning. So I appreciate that design. $420 is on the upper side, but you know, it's orange, etc. As far as the flyweight, well, I appreciated the flyweight because I bought into the Altitude. Here's the Benchmade Altitude. This is a super light, nicely designed. In fact, it's a very similar blade. It's the standard drop point. It doesn't have this really sharp forend of kind of this Benchmade paring knife, or almost a steak knife, but super thin, super lightweight, minimalist. I don't know why they gave me, when I got it, a camouflage blade cover, since, you know, this is obviously orange. If you drop that, you might not find it. But anyway, very light. I like that they're experimenting with that aspect. Here they did put the handle on it, so it was reminiscent of when I actually put these on. These were aftermarket handles, or aftermarket scales that I put on this. Otherwise, it would be just this super thin, small little neck knife. So I can understand where they're going there. What else do we have here as we move forward? We have got the Daryl Smith. Now, he apparently is a bird hunter somewhere in Georgia, and he's got this design. This design holds that, holds this blade, you know, very, very similar blade. Well, one of the things I do like is a full orange blade. This has the classic Benchmade Bugout dropout blade, but as you can see, full orange. I think that's important. He apparently likes orange. He's got a lot of orange here, orange here, orange here. Got an orange watch. That can be very important both in finding it and making sure you stand out. So I appreciate when Benchmade does the full orange stuff. As far as a bird knife, I would think that would get a little bit rough trying to use that to gut a bird or to, whatever he does with it. But the handle, or the scales, I guess, are very similar between those two. This has a little bit more of a guard there, but I can tell, it's probably a good knife. They call this the Tagged Out. I'm assuming that's not World or Wrestling Foundation or Federation tagging out. That's actually, you've got your tag filled, but okay. So prepared for the unknown, the prepper knives. I really love this knife. My guess is, just looking at that is, if we hold that up, what do you think? Is that the Claymore? I did a video on this. I'm gonna, might have to put that under the microscope and see if I can read that. But I love the Claymore. Great knife. I love the guards here. Really does have a good solid feel. It's a auto knife, but when you turn the page, grab my Bugout here. That's what I'm using to turn the page here. What do they have? They've got this thing. It's an out the front knife. Looks like it's got a spine activation. You flick this little lever and it shoots out or back. A lot of people think those are great. And I've looked at some, in particular the Infidel, but for the price, for the blade shape, the strength, some of the issues, I think this is coming in as a less expensive Infidel at $325. There are some issues with those. You can clog them up. The guts, there's a lot of sensitive mechanics inside this, so if you get them all gooed up, there's a problem. But this is the thing I really worried about. You see that? That is a glass breaker, carbide glass breaker. But unless that retracts, that is, sometimes you're coming in and you've got that stuck in the heel of your hand. And I know that because I've used some, but if I want a glass breaker, this is the one I want. You see that? No, you don't, because it's hidden. But if I need it, I can squeeze down on this blade. You see it's got the finger grooves on the top of the blade, and then I can deploy the glass breaker. 100% of the time you don't need that, but it can get in the way. It can puncture you. It can tear things. It's a very hard metal. It's sharp. So I would want some way to deploy that. You can see that I can turn that on and off. Having it just stick out, a lot of EMTs might want that because there's a good chance they may use it daily or weekly at least, but not me. So when I see those sticking out, I can tend to shy away. But I'm glad they're exploring more of the out the front space. Some people swear by them. I just haven't got one yet to really see if that's the ticket. So the next one, as we go into, well, these are like kitchen knives. This is Unwrap a Meat Crafter. So as you can see, this has got a carbon fiber handle. It's got a big hole at the back. I don't know if that's for hanging it or what, but as you can see, check that out, that blade belly there. Well, I totally agree with that. In fact, here is my hunting knife. It's a Falcon even. PHK's professional hunting knife, in case you couldn't figure that out. But if you look at that, what do we have? We have got a nice big belly, except this has got a very thin blade profile, whereas this is a field version. Super thick. In fact, compare that to the Benchmade Bugout, and you can see, there's a lot of meat here. So it does have that contour that I really appreciate and is similar, to the bellies you see in meat processing knives like this Benchmade here. It also has the feature of being quite good in the field if you need to do field stuff, which of course I do. I like the carbon fiber. One thing is when you're working with these kind of knives, you want to make sure you can clean them. Can you get them hygienic again? Here's a couple of others. Here's one, looks like a G10 with a stonewash finish. Again, the same long belly there. The CPM S45 VN steel, any of the CPMS VNs, whatever the number is, I think are great. They're just nuances of tweaking the chemistry. However, let me show you this. This is interesting. This was my dad's hunting knife. He's still around. He has a different knife, but this just became too valuable to use. And that's essentially what he used for decades. You know, it's not quite the same. I'm gonna move my bug out. Not quite the same there. But this Raghorn, made in Montana, old one here. If you notice, that's an M for you Raghorn collectors there. Here's the sheath it came in. It was just what you did when you came to Montana. You bought a Raghorn from Bonner, Montana. But that, I mean, it wasn't a manly big Bowie knife or something. It was a very functional hunting knife, and you processed the game generally with that same knife because it was your best knife. Not everyone had a kitchen full of expensive knives. In fact, about that same time or even older, this was state-of-the-art. Look at this, Gerber Legendary Blades. Oops, opened it upside down. Throw these back in. So what these are is high-quality, American-made, meat processing knives. Except I think they are, more maybe for preparing the kitchen or preparing your turkey or something. Even not even that. Your roast beef, super thin, super long, super sharp, all metal, so they're hygienic. But that was the ticket way back if you go to the 70s. But nobody uses stuff like this much anymore, simply because it's not near as effective. So, keep looking. What else do we have? I might as well point this out. This is my current processing knife for meat. Again, another Falkneven. I'm a big Falkneven fan. This guy here, this is a laminated cobalt steel. You might scream and cry, oh, it doesn't have a full tang. It doesn't need one. This spalted maple, beautiful handle. Doesn't need that. You're not generating those kinds of forces. It is precision. Very nice. Fortunately, I sharpened it in the dark and I didn't quite have it lined up right away, so I scratched the blade, but it's a use knife. It's designed for cutting things up. So that's the one I use. I like that flow there. I don't mind. A lot of them are going with thicker bellies here, kind of like chef knives. But I like the feel of this, the operation of it. That's the one I use. Anyway, let's keep going here. So what do we have left? Here are the standard chef knives. You can buy the whole set for a whopping $850 for those 3 knives. Probably last forever, but I really like knives like this that can go in the dishwasher, and I bet these are not recommended for it. But they do look like serious, solid knives. They're using the Benchmade 154C, or the CPM 154, which is a good solid blade steel, especially for a kitchen knife. Now they've also got this gold ring, and they're advertising that gold ring. And gold ring, huh? See? Gold pivot ring, whatever that is. All I could think about was Leopold's gold rings. They put a gold ring on their high-quality product. See that? Or excuse me, it's Leupold, as somebody pointed out. I always call it Leopold. But Leupold golden ring. So maybe they're going to have something that's got kind of a lifetime experience. I don't know. Anyway, so the other thing is they're pushing kind of this cleaver design. I've experimented with that. I've got full-size cleavers, but I've started working with these little guys. This is a little Gerber. Of course, it's probably made overseas. Simple design, super sharp, heavy, beefy. But as far as you're not getting a full chop with these because it's way too small. But you get that force that these cleaver kind of knives offer. Slicing through things. Here they've got, wow, you slice through an onion. That's not terribly hard. What does that say there? That's the cereal maybe, or the model. But anyway, some of these actually do work great for kitchen prep. A little bit of a roller, almost like an Alaskan Ulu knife, for for prepping things. You can keep them very sharp, and then they've got the strength if you want to go into working with meat, bone, etc. So it's kind of interesting to see that. I do like that shape of a blade. So it's definitely a popular thing to experiment with, you know, kind of the cleaver shape. This one's almost got a hard point on it. I'm not sure what that's all about. I'd almost have to try one in the kitchen, but the way they're advertising this thing, I don't know if it's a do-all premium knife, all kinds of different things, but sometimes when you get up to the sharp point on a heavier cleaving knife, it can get either dangerous or fragile. But anyway, that's the Benchmade catalog there, and I do appreciate that they're pushing out, you know, a lot of innovation in the knife space, and I hope this was helpful in your knife buying decisions for holiday 2022. With that, Doc out.